Hey everybody, welcome back to Change Your Awareness, Change Your Perspective, Change Your Life. I'm Dr. McLeana AF, hashtag that felon doctor, here to talk about more diary excerpts that are existential, to say the least, and also, I hope, relatable. These are almost always like my first morning waking up thoughts. Like if I were to, I don't know, it depends on the day, honestly, but this one, I think probably maybe will resonate maybe with a lot of you. Maybe you've thought about it, but maybe you haven't. And so I'm just going to jump right into it and then we'll talk about it. So, Dear Diary, who encourages the encourager and who empowers the empowerer? What do you do when you pour life into everybody, but nobody and nothing pours life into you? Where do you get your joy from? How do you function in hope when everything is miserable? How do you keep on living when all you want to do is die? Right. And so I think that brings up, I hope that it brings up a lot of questions because, like, how do you do it? And actually, people have asked me this before. How do you do it? You know? And so now, like, I have people who encourage me, people who empower me. There were a lot of times in my journey to self-awareness where there was very little encouraging me and very little empowering me. I will say that when I was in the thick of isolation, okay, in the heaviest part of my journey, that was pretty much between September 2019 to, I would say, March 2020. So it was about a 6 month period where it was like, there was nothing to encourage, really, because it's like you're on you have to go on a new life path and you have no idea what that path is. You're like, what the hell am I doing and why? Like, what the frick's going on? What really encouraged me was not so much people, but new opportunity. In that time and space, as my life was taking a new direction, which I let it take, I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. Like, I don't know. Like, everything that I had planned up until August 2019 got shot to shit. Now, like all things, it worked to my good, right? When I was denied the ability to go get my first PhD, or I only have one PhD, but the first acceptance I got for a PhD was in literature. And I've mentioned this before on my journey, but I was going to go get my PhD in literature from the University of South Carolina. And because I pled guilty to a crime that has a lot of location restrictions, South Carolina denied me entrance. And so what ended up happening was I became suicidal. Because at that point, I was holding on to that dream as something that might happen. I had plans to do that. I had, rented an apartment. I'd signed a lease. Like, I was like, okay, well, maybe this is still going to be allowed to happen. And it wasn't. And that was the last thing I was holding on to. And then once that dream died, I was like, I don't have anything left at this point. Like, I don't. And so at that point, there was very little to encourage. There was only enough to stave off death. For real. Like, I was not encouraged. I was just barely hanging on. And what kind of shifted the momentum was when I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm gonna do. There's like a 10-day period I'll never forget it, from August 21st to August 31st of 2019, where I was like waiting to hear. The semester started. I couldn't go because I hadn't heard anything yet. And like, in my position, you're not allowed to take a plane or anything. There's a whole bunch of things. And so I knew I wasn't going to be able to go. They told me, it's a PhD program. Like, you can't start it late. You can't do anything. And so that was, okay, fine. Blessing, because 6 months later, COVID started. So I would have been down in South Carolina completely screwed. So it ended up being a blessing, as these things always are. But it didn't feel like it at the time. But it also was like, I was like, okay, well, what do I do now? Like, I just need to start throwing shit up at the wall. I don't know where to work. I don't know what to do. Like, I started applying to everything, anything. who knows who's going to take me now? I'm a felon and a sex offender. Who the fuck's going to want to take me, right? That was my thought then, because I hadn't done all the mindset work. I hadn't done all the self-awareness work. I hadn't done any real work yet at that point, except I hadn't done any real work, honestly. And so I did some work, not the depth work that I ended up doing. And so what ended up happening is a whole new trajectory opened up, and it was clearly business. Like, I got loud and clear from God, the universe, and everything that, like, get your ass going on business. It was like, I joined a business community. Somehow I fell into it from a friend of a friend of a friend, as these things happen. I started a business. I was hired for a startup business, and all I did was prospect all day, and they were like setting appointment calls, prospecting and setting appointment calls, which if you know anything about a business, you know, and if you don't, then don't worry about it. Mindset stuff. I was working. I turned my car into a university. I was door dashing. And so it was a lot of isolation. And very little encouragement. So what ended up encouraging me was the fact that I was like, there's a lot of opportunity for new. Everything is new. And when I stopped letting that be daunting, I started trying to let it be exciting. And so I was like, for every no, there's a yes. I knew that even then. Like, for every rejection, there's going to be an acceptance. Someone somewhere is going to accept me. Sure enough, it kept happening. They did. And, the path's going to get clearer. And so the encouragement didn't really come until, I would say, probably May 2020. Everything else was just holding on for about 6 months. September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. Yeah. I'm sorry, that's 8 months. Jesus. And the encouragement really came when I got into the PhD program. That's when I got encouraged. Like, I was like, okay, my dreams aren't completely dead. They're just different now. And the PhD that was supposed to be kind of like the end of the road, the PhD in literature, is now going to be a stepping stone to whatever's new and comes next. And I could see that even then, right? I could see the seasons and signs even when I was in the thick of despair, which I was. And that all came from the decision not to kill myself. Yeah, it really came from that. Once I made that decision, I committed. I was like, okay, I'm not going to kill myself. I'm going to try the new path. And I don't know what the new path is, honestly. And so the encouragement came, and I mean this quite literally, when I joined a business community in March of 2021. And I won't say that saved my life, because my mother did that. And I guess my own choices, but like, really, I give a lot of credit to my mom. I was encouraged and empowered through that community in a really big way. In a way that got me to lose 40 pounds. Like, I started 75 hard because of that business community. I moved states because of that business community. I shifted my mindset, which I'd already been doing, but it just made it easier to do. Got on group calls. Like, I was just held accountable differently. Like, it just mattered, right? And so this is why I say, having done it all ways, and this is why we offer a school, because like, community is important. Community is necessary. Like, community matters. And so, if you're resonating with any of this, like, this isn't a gimmick. This is like literally shit that saved my life. Like, get in a community of like-minded people. It helps, because most often what I'm finding is that the community that is around you in your physical environment is stagnant, and you're ready to grow and it doesn't serve you. And so you need other like-minded people, right? So I got a lot of joy from those calls. Those calls, like, I would look forward to them on Tuesday and Thursday. I had a lot of hope that there was a future because of those calls. And so that was pivotal, honestly, for me. And so a lot of times, and I grapple with this question even now. And the question is, how does the candle light itself? Right? Because that's really what this comes down to, is like, how do you self-allow joy? How do you self-allow encouragement? How do you self-allow empowerment? Because that's where you have to get to. That's where we all have to get. We have to get to self-starting, self-allowing. Like, when we rely on external circumstances to give us joy, that means that we can't provide it for ourselves. And that's not ever a great place to be. Because when you can't provide things for yourself, you're dependent. And then you can get addicted. And when you're in addiction energy, you're in lack energy because, again, you're lacking it. And that's inherently not productive. And so I always ask the question. I was asking it last week to somebody I work with who is my coach. Because I'm always having a coach. I'm always having a therapist. If your coach doesn't have a coach, you need a new coach. I say this all the time. Like, everybody should be actively working on their mindset. There's always deeper to go. There's always more things to learn about yourself. And so with how does the candle light itself? It's a question that everybody has to figure out for themselves. So that who encourages the encourager? Eventually it has to be, I can encourage everybody else. I can encourage myself too. That's where it gets to. And so now, for the most part, I will say I provide myself. Again, I'm always very focused on God and like the mission, and that's a lot of why I show up in a lot of ways. But like, who encourages the encourager at this point? Like, my circle is very small. So a lot of the times I'm encouraging my damn self. Like, get up and do this thing, girl. Ain't nobody gonna do it if you ain't doing it. You know what I mean? Who empowers me? I empower myself now. The truths I know empower me now. The work I've done empowers me now. I don't worry now. I don't get attached now. I'm like, if you like me, great. If you don't, great. Like, I'm like, I can take it or leave it about pretty much everything at this point. Because, well, there's a power and a freedom in that for sure. When you get to the place where it's like, I can lose anything. I can lose anything. I can gain anything. I'm not attached to any of it. There's a real empowerment in that. It's a self-empowerment that doesn't come from anywhere else. And this morning, I'll tell you the truth. I was expecting $2,000 to come in, hit my account today. And I had made plans for that money already. I was like, it's coming. This is good. Love that. And it didn't. It did not come. And it ain't gonna come because of a glitch in my bank. And I was like, fuck. Now what? And then I thought to myself, who cares? Who cares? I'll be fine. I have been fine. I will be fine. It is fine. Everything is fine. My expectations were shot. Okay, cool. At this point, like, my joy's not in that $2,000. My joy's not in the ability to spend that money. Like, my joy's not in that. And so those moments, now I can just encourage and empower myself through, because I've lost a lot. You know what I mean? It takes work to get there. And so I want to make you think about, what do you do for encouragement? What do you do for empowerment? What do you do for joy? What do you do for hope? Because we need these things. And eventually we need to supply them to ourselves. But for the most part, we have a hard time doing that at the beginning of the journey. Like I said, I can do it now. But I've never been able to do it my whole life. I have another post on that, or another entry on that I won't get into right now. But I realized I haven't been able to do that my whole life. Not just now, not just the last 5 years. I always found my joy in everything else. My joy in my work, my joy in achievement, my joy in accomplishment, my joy in how I serve people. And that's good. There's a goodness to be found in all that. But like, at the end of the day, if it all goes away, can you be joyful? And for me, the answer was no. It's absolutely not. I can't access joy. It is still, to me, this day, joy is the hardest thing for me to access. Peace is fine. Contentment is good. Gratitude is good. Encouragement is fine. Empowerment is fine. Joy is the hardest thing for me to access. I still struggle with it. Ergo, the question, how does a candle light itself? The metaphor of a candle, by the way, guys, is a person. You're the candle. How do you get lit from within? How do you self-start? So, I will say the community helped a whole hell of a lot when I was in the place of trying to figure out how to show up. And so that is why I offer this community to everybody, because I think growth-minded community is super important, and it's one of the only ways to heal properly, from what I've found in my own journey. There's a time for isolation. There's a time for community. There's a time for growth by self, growth in partnership. Like, all of it needs to happen to really come back to self on very many different levels. So with all that being said, I'm gonna hop off. This is the third video I've filmed today. Obviously, I'm still in the same outfit. So, and I'm not like some of those content creators who like throw a new outfit on and like, hey, I'm different. Like, no, I don't care. You guys, I like to keep it real with you guys. You know that. So anyway, I hope this is helpful insight. I hope it is giving you perspective, right? Change perspective, change your awareness, change your life. And I hope it's giving you that real, authentic look into myself and my journey. Like, I've done this already. I've been there. I've been in the despair. I've been in the joy. And I do think there's some aspect of that. Like, there's always new things to learn and new things to do. Like, I just think you get to a place of regulation eventually. So anyway, with all that being said, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, get notified when I drop content, which I drop all the time. Hit the link in the description if you're interested in hearing more about Seasons in Science Academy and the community there. And then I will see you guys on the next video.